So the next topic that we're going to study today is master records or master data. It's going to be same. There would be an interview question on this, that what do you mean by a master data or a master record? Your answer should be that an SAP R by 3, okay, or the SAP R by 3 system works on real-time data. R by 3, R/3. R stands for real time and 3 stands for 3-tier. So SAP R by 3 works on real time data. That is, there is no time lag between data entry and data availability. The important thing while creating any data is to maintain the data integrity. And so the SAP R by 3 data is categorized into two. First is master data, second is transactional data. At the moment, just understand what is transactional data. Once we complete the master data topic, the master records topic, I will explain you and I'll show you on the screen what is a transactional data or transactional records. So master data, also known as master records, means the data that is stored or the data that is created centrally and is valid for all applications. It remains constant over time, but we need to update it on a regular basis. For example, a vendor master record is a type of a master data, is a type of a master record that is used for creating purchase orders or contracts. Transactional data means a data that is associated with processing of business transaction is called a transactional data. The SAP Material Master or SAP Material Records, SAP Master Records is of two types. First is the Material Master Data, second is the Vendor Master Data or the Vendor Master Record. Now, what is a Vendor Master Record? The name itself indicates that in a Vendor Master Record, the information that we're going to input is about the vendor. That means what? That means what? First is, let's say, vendor name, then vendor address, vendor address, vendor communication method, that is by email or fax or telephone or EDA, that stands for electronic data electronic data exchange, or let's say company type, or sometimes even company WhatsApp. Okay, then in which currency the vendor is dealing, in which products the vendor is dealing, then the bank details like bank account number, okay, and the IFSC code, switch code, sometimes the bank address, tax code, then payment terms, and so on. These are the details we fill in the vendor master record for the vendor. This is just like you can say a logical explanation of a vendor master record. But what is a vendor master record? We'll ask you in the interview. We can say that a vendor master record is the enterprise's main source of vendor-specific data. It includes information on vendors from which a company can procure or can sell. A vendor master record contains information such as the vendor name, address, etc. just now, which I explained on the screen. Data in a vendor master record is divided into three categories. I'll show you those categories now on the SAP software itself. Go to XK02T code. The data in the vendor master record is divided into three categories: general data, company code data, purchasing organization data. Now, this question in the interview can be asked in two different ways. First, in which three categories or in which categories a data in the vendor master record is stored? Or what is the structure of the vendor master record? Your answer should be the data in the vendor master record is divided into three categories. First is the general data, in which we store the address of the vendor, control functions for the control consultants, payment transactions. A general data is maintained at the client level and it is valid for all organizational levels. Now, over here, as per the enterprise structure, our client is Roy C. Our client is Roy C. As per Roy Group of Industries, our client is Roy C. So, general data means what? The data is maintained at the client level and it is valid for all the organizations. That means the data in the general data, the data that we can store at the general data level is address, control, and payment transactions. So, address, control data for control consultants, not for us, for SAP control consultants, and payment terms. This data for this client, Roy C. In general data, the address, control data for control consultants, and payment terms. This data is valid, is maintained at this client level, and is valid for all the org levels: company, company code, plant, storage location, purchasing organization, purchasing group. Okay, so for the client, Roy C, this general data, which contains the address, control data for control consultants, payment terms, is valid for this client, Roy C, is maintained for this client, I can say, is maintained for this client, Roy C, and it is valid for all the org levels in the enterprise structure, that is company, company code, plant, storage location, purchasing organization, and purchasing group. Next is the accounting data. In accounting data, the information that we store is the accounting info, payment transactions, correspondence, and withholding tax. Accounting data is maintained at the company code level. In the company code level, the data or the accounting level in straightforward language, the data that we stored is the accounting info. Then over here, I would say terms of payment transactions. Sorry. Again, payment transactions, correspondence, withholding tax. This data is maintained at the accounting level or the company code level. Now, what is the accounting level data or the company code data? It is maintained at the company level and it is valid for all plants belonging to that company. This accounting data, okay, it depends. It can be maintained at the company code level or the company level. It is valid for all the plants of the company. Then the next is the next category in which the data is stored in the vendor master record is the purchasing data. In purchasing data, the information that we store is the purchasing data and partner functions. Now, in a bookish language, the purchasing data is maintained at the purchasing organization level. If you can see my cursor over here. But I would like to show you the components of the purchasing data. So / in xk03. Let me just put up any vendor, go to purchasing data, and go to partner functions. In purchasing data, the data that we store is the different purchasing conditions, like for example, the order currency, payment terms, Incoterms, that means international shipping terms, which I'll explain it when we do the practicals, minimum order value, schema group for vendor, that I'll explain you in depth when we study the pricing procedure. But now just understand the pricing date control, order optimization, in and the name of the salesperson, contact number, and the account number with the vendor. This is the main data that we store. Then partner functions. What do you mean by partner functions into SAP? Partner functions are also known as partner roles into SAP materials management. Partner functions, there will be an interview question that what do you mean by partner functions or partner roles in SAP? It's one and the same. We can say partner functions allows you to identify which function a partner has to perform in a business process. Okay. Now, for example, if it's a small vendor organization, a small vendor company, or a small vendor organization, or a small vendor, small time vendor from whom do we procure goods and services. Now, since this vendor company is small, its business volume is smaller. That's why there can be just one single person doing everything. That means he would be the person who is taking the orders, from his customers, processing the orders, making the shipments ready, and taking care of the transportation of goods. That is, you can say, logistics and preparing the invoices. But in a big vendor organization, in a big vendor organization, in a big vendor organization, there would be different teams or groups assigned to assigned for every task. That means there would be a team who would be in charge of order taking. That means the order taking team. There would be a team, okay, to process the orders. That means the processing order team. There would be a team to make the shipments ready. There would be a team to take care of the transportation of goods. That means a logistics team. There would be a team to prepare the invoices. So every team over here is performing some duties. Every team over here is performing some and the other duty. Or you can say every team over here is performing a duty or a responsibility. Every team over here is performing a duty or handling a responsibility. So those duties and responsibilities are known as roles or functions, are known as, to be exact, partner roles or partner functions. Partner roles or partner functions. Partner role or partner functions. So now let's take a look at how to create a vendor master record. First, we do the basics and then we shall do the practicals. Let me just delete this. Okay. So when it comes to, first of all, vendor master records, we can use three different T codes, starting with XK. XK is known as a central transaction MK is known as purchasing specific transaction. FK is known as accounting specific transaction. Why? I'll show you the difference. Let's say I create another session. Go to xk02, create another session. Go to mk0, so mk02, create another session. Go to fk02. Now, first, let's take a look at the xk transaction. What is the difference? In xk transaction, as you can enter data on all the three different levels, that is general data, company code data, purchasing organization data. That's why it's known as a central transaction to create a vendor master record. In MK transaction, you can enter data on just two levels, general data and purchasing organization data. Here, like the XK transaction, company code data will not be available. See, in XK transaction, company code data level is available, but in MK transaction, company code data level is not available, but only general and purchasing organization data levels are available. That's why they are known as, that's why this transaction is known as purchasing specific transaction. Whereas in FK transaction, you'll be able to enter data on the general data level and the company code data level. The purchasing organization data level will not be available. See this. That's why this FK transaction is known as accounting specific transaction. Now for practice purpose, we will be thoroughly using the XK transaction that will allow us to enter the data on all the three different levels. That's general data, company code data, purchasing organization data, because it's a central transaction. And your assignment will be to practice the vendor master records on the FK transactions and the MK transactions and the FK transactions as well. Now, let's create the vendor master records by using the XK transaction, that's central transaction. Go to master records, vendor master record. We'll be using the VMR central transaction, that is vendor master record transaction, vendor master record central, by using the XK T codes. Now to create the vendor master record centrally, we'll be using the T code that's XK01. We can also type this T code in this command bar over here, XK01, or you can double click the favorite over here, which I've created. And the menu path is logistics. Then under logistics, there would be materials management. Always materials management would be under logistics, but because materials management is a functional area under logistics. So logistics, materials management, then purchasing, then master data, then vendor, then central. XK01 is to create, XK02 is to change. That means to do the changes to the existing vendor master record that you have created with the help of XK01. XK03 is to display the vendor master record. XK04 is to see the changes that you've made to the vendor master record. XK05 is to block, also unblock the vendor master record. XK06 is to flag and also unflag the vendor master record from deletion. And XK07 to change the account group. Now, let's start with the basics, that is creation of vendor master records. XK01 to create the vendor master record. Over here, there are two ways to create a vendor master record. One by leaving the vendor field blank, and one by typing the vendor number range manually. We'll leave it blank and we'll let the system give us a vendor number range. So over here, we have to use our company code that we created in the enterprise structure for this client, that is ROYC. Our company code is RYC. Purchasing organization that we created for the client, that's ROYC, in the enterprise structure is RCQ1, RCQ2, RCQ3. We'll be using the standard purchasing organization throughout for practice. RCQ2, RCQ2. Right now, the account group, I have not created the account group. I'll show the configuration once we're done with the basics. So right now, I'll be using the account group over here, which will be let's say material vendor. Hit enter. Give the title over here. Title can be company, name of the company, name of the vendor. Let's say, for example, TYR computers. This information you'll be getting it from the client. You have, I mean, once you start the project, okay, once you implement the project, the end users of the client, that means the employees of the client organization, they will feed the information in their respective master records. So they will have all this information. Now, once you hit enter, the cursor will directly jump into this field that is known as country. Why? Because it's a mandatory field. And why it's a mandatory field? That is because it has a check mark in a square. So whenever a field has a check mark in a square, okay, that becomes a mandatory field in SAP. And that's why there is a thumb rule in SAP that after every data entry, you have to hit enter so that the cursor automatically blinks into the mandatory fields so that you come to know which data entry you have to do now, which data entry you have to perform. So I hit enter. Now this cursor, which is blinking over here in the name field, will directly jump into the country field. See this. You can give the country, click on the search box. This is a training server, that's why there are only two countries over here. In the real-time server, they'll have lots and lots of countries. Can give the address now. ABC Street, shop number or house number would be 67, let's say. Postal code, city, anything. Search term would be laptops. Hit enter. You'll come to the control screen, create vendor control. This is not for us, this is for the SAP controlling consultants. So hit enter. Payment transactions, you can enter the country of the vendor, bank key, bank account number, account holder, reference details, and so on. Enter reconciliation account number. A reconciliation account number is always provided to us by the finance consultants, by the finance team. Okay. It will be provided to the end user. It will be provided to the end users. That means the client's employees by their finance team, because a reconciliation account number is maintained by the finance team. Now, there would be an interview question. Just understand. They will ask you what's a reconciliation account number. Your answer should be a reconciliation account in SAP is a general ledger account assigned to a business partner. Business partner means a vendor. A vendor is treated as a business partner in SAP, materials management. So a reconciliation account number in SAP is a general ledger account assigned to the vendor, that means the business partner, master record, to record all transactions in the subledger. It ensures that the total of the general ledger account balances is always zero. This is a prerequisite for creating a balance sheet at any time. So right now for training purpose, we'll be using this reconciliation account number, that's 31,000. Then hit enter. The cursor will blink in the mandatory field. Cash management group. Click search. The cash management group is nothing but it tells us whether the vendor, for example, is a one-time vendor, okay, or a regular vendor. A regular vendor means also known as a master vendor. Whether a vendor is a domestic vendor so that he or she will accept domestic payments, or it's a foreign vendor, okay, that means whether we are importing the goods from overseas. So the vendor will accept the payment in foreign currency. So let's say, for example, we give it as a domestic vendor over here. Hit enter. Payment terms. Payment terms over here. Under payment, in payment data subscreen, you have PAYT terms, that's payment terms. What do you mean by payment terms? In simple language, a payment term is nothing but a kind of a credit facility that a vendor gives us when we buy anything from the vendor. Let's say you as a company, now let's say this company, Roy Group of Companies, is buying from this vendor TYR computers on a regular basis. So it's not only for this company, that's Roy Group of Companies, but for every company, it's difficult to pay the vendors every time because they have to arrange the funds. They have to check how much funds are available in the company accounts first. And if it's necessary, then if there are some extra funds necessary, then they have to arrange the funds from the market. So it becomes difficult for them. So what this Roy company will do is that they will ask this vendor, that is TYR Computers, that can you give us any credit facility? That credit facility is known as payment terms. So what this vendor will do, he will ask some documents from this Roy Group of Companies to run a credit check on this Roy Group of Companies. Those documents will be what, like the company incorporation certificate. In India, we have something called Gomasta. Okay, company balance sheet and other financial documents. On the basis of these financial documents, this TYR vendor will run a credit check on this Roy C group of companies, as this company is asking for a credit facility, that is a payment term. So on the basis of the credit score of this company, Roy Group of Companies, okay, a credit facility will be assigned to this Roy Group of Companies by the vendor TYR. The vendor himself will not do it. The vendor himself will not run the credit check. The vendor might have their own lawyers or attorneys or any bankers or financiers who will be running a credit check on behalf of this vendor on this company, that is Roy Group of Companies. And on the basis of the credit score of this Roy Group of Companies, the attorney or lawyer or whoever, the CA or the company's this vendor's CA or this vendor's banker or financer will assign a credit limit to this company, to this group of companies, its Roy Group of Companies. That credit facility can be, let's say, for example, net 15 or net 30 or net 20 or net 10 or net 5, and sometimes no credit limit depending on the credit score. And net 15 means exactly what? Let's say you receive the goods today from the from this vendor. You receive the goods today from this vendor. Okay. You receive the goods from today from this vendor. So if the vendor provides you net 15, after today till 15 days, you have to pay the vendor. You get a time, okay, of 15 days after the delivery date, after the goods are delivered to your premises. Till 15 days or within 15 days, you have to pay the the bill to the vendor, the bill of material to the vendor. And net 30 is also same, net 20, net 10, net 5 is also same. It goes the same. So that's a payment term. So terms of payment in MM is, for example, or payment terms. For payment term, you can say like 30 days net, that is net 30, 60 days net, that is net 60, or net 15, etc. It's day-based payment terms. It is right to have them created and assign them to the vendor master, purchase order, or invoice. But about the terms like 50% advance, 50% invoice, etc., that has to be decided among the vendor, between the vendor and the purchaser. So payment terms are conditions agreed between vendor for the payment of the invoices. That means you can say payment terms are conditions agreed between business partners. That means conditions agreed between the purchaser and the vendor for the payment of invoices. That means for the payment of the goods or services. The conditions define the due date and the cash discount offered for payment of the invoice within a certain period. That's a payment term. Now let's say, for example, click search. You'll have the list of payment terms over here. We'll select this payment immediately due net. Or let's say we'll select this within 14 days, 3% cash discount. That means if the vendor pays within 14 days, you can, if you pay the vendor within 14 days, you can get 3% cash, or else nothing. 3% cash discount, sorry. Enter. Corresponding account screen is not for us, so enter. Order currency. In which currency the vendor deals. This is the list of currencies. Let's say I select over here euros. Enter. Partner functions is a different topic. I'll teach you that later. Partner functions. Enter. Should the data be saved first? Yes. This is the vendor master record created by the system. This is the vendor number range. Now, why the system has given this number range to the vendor? So it is of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 characters alphanumeric. Basically, it's of 18 characters. System has given us 10. So why do you think that the system has given us this number range or this kind of an ID to this vendor, which is TYR computers? Why? Because in the system there would be a lots and lots of TYR computers, vendor vendors called TYR computers. So how the system will understand that with which vendor, which is the right vendor to do the business with the help of this number range or the ID the system gives us when we save the vendor master record in simple words. Now let's say, for example, we'll go back to the standard SAP screen by /n in the command bar. We want to do some changes to the existing vendor master record. Now we have created this vendor master record, which is this. We want to do some changes to it. So what we'll do, we'll go to the T code that's XK02, enter, select all data levels. Only withholding tax will not be selected because that's typically for the accounts team. You want to deselect all, you can click on F8 or this button, radio button, deselect all. You want to select all, you can click F7 on the keyboard or select all button, click the select all button. Enter. Automatically the last vendor that we have created, that is 2004-01, is reflecting over here. Company code, purchasing organization is reflecting over here. Enter. Now what changes do you want to do over here? You can change the address, name, title, can add some more details if you want. Okay. Over here, you cannot do anything because it's a control screen. It's for control consultants. We can add the bank details. Code, country, bank key. Maybe let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bank key, let's say it's basically 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 15 characters. It can be alphanumeric also. Then bank account number of the vendor. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It should be of 18 characters. Depending on the country's rules and regulations, the bank account number also can be alphanumeric. Account holder, the name of the account holder, let's say Roger Moore. Okay, then click on bank data. For Argentina, I think so. This key is too long. It should not be 11 characters. Enter. Enter the bank name. Federal Bank. Europe. Anything. Region. Select the region. Say capital. Federal. Street is anything. Street. City will be. Therefore, there's anything. Bank. Branch is in which this thing. Region. So go back. Swift code. Just type anything. bank group, anything, bank number, enter. Okay. Enter, 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 enter. We want the payment terms over here. That's what we select before. Incoterms, add the Incoterms. As you see, I have cost, insurance, and freight. Give the description, cost, insurance, and freight. Add the salesperson name, the phone number, account with the vendor, any account number, enter. So you can see once you click save, you can see in the status bar over here, changes have been made. Now, if you want to display the vendor master record, use the T code XK03. All the information will be pre-filled. Just hit enter. But over here, if you see, you cannot make any changes. The fields are not active. That's because they are just in the display mode, in the read-only mode. But from here also, from the XK03 transaction, which is used to display vendor master record, you can do the changes by clicking this button that says change display change button or hitting F5 on the keyboard. Once you click this radio button, see the fields will be active. So now you can make changes like this. See, I don't do any changes. Right now, I don't want to do any changes. So I hit enter, 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 enter. Whichever field you want to do the changes, do it over here. Right, change over here. Let's say Ganesh. Okay, change this purchase data. Enter. Save. Now go back to the standard SAP screen. Next T code. Now I would like to see what changes I've made to the vendor master record which I've created. So I'll go to the T code, that's XK04. This is the vendor which I've created, my company code. RYC1, purchasing organization, and my plant is RCM1. And hit enter. Hit enter. Now you'll be able to see the changes now. Click on all changes. Let's say I choose this field, address. Click on all changes or click choose. It will show you changed by SAP user. That's me on this date. Go back, choose this field, click on all changes. Here no changes, no changes in any field. Click on all changes once again. No change field exists. No change, no change. No change, no change. So right now I've not done any changes over here. That's why it's not showing any changes over here. But let's say making some changes. Making some changes now. Mm, enter. Now let's see the changes now. Give your company code and enter. See, there was a change done over here. All changes account in this field. That's account holder field. We have done the changes. Select this field. Change all changes. Change the house number. The old one is 67, the new one is 671. Search term. The old one is laptops. Now it's laptops manufacturing. Street. The old one is ABC Street. Now it's ABC Street. Okay. Now same way bank details. Click this field bank details, sorry. Click all changes. You see the changes. Bank control key, all changes. There's no change over here. So in this way, you'll be able to see all the changes now. Go back. Now, let's say, for example, you want to block this vendor for some reasons. Why do we block the vendor? Why do we block the vendor, or in which circumstances do we block the vendor? In which scenarios do we block vendor? maybe for different reasons. Like for example, um, this vendor is not reliable, is in terms of prices, in terms of shipments. Shipments are getting delayed. His charging is too high, is too expensive as compared to the market price, or his goods are of inferior quality. That's why we block this vendor. So we'll block the vendor by using the T code XK05. XK05. Just enter your vendor, company code, purchasing organization, hit enter. You can block the vendor for posting blocks for all the different company codes of the company, that's Roy C group of companies, or for selected company codes. You can add a purchasing block over here also. That means in case of purchasing, you can block the vendor for all the purchasing organizations of this company, that's Roy group of companies, it's RCQ1, RCQ2, RCQ3, or selected purchasing organization. We can block the vendor for quality reasons also by giving a block function. Block for purchase order, block for purchase requisitions for quotation and purchase order, block for purchase order, RFQ and goods receipts, block source determination, total block. I say that, okay, I'll just block this vendor as total block for all the company codes and all the purchasing organizations. Okay, for our client, that's Royce. Now I hit enter. As per the thumb rule, after every data entry, you have to hit enter in SCP and click save. I'll do the testing now by creating a PO. Now, PO creation, these are the transaction, this is one of the transaction data that I'll be teaching you once we complete the master records. But just for your knowledge, okay, now since we have blocked the vendor, I'll show you the testing. To test whether the vendor is blocked or not, we'll have to create a PO. So go to the T code, that's ME21N. This will take us to the PO creation screen. Okay. This PO creation screen. In the vendor field, enter the vendor. Enter. Purchasing organization, purchasing group. Oh wait. Purchasing organization is RCQ2, RCQ2. Purchasing group is RC6. Company code is RYC1. RYC1. Hit enter. See, in the status bar it says vendor, which is this 200401, has been blocked. The master record for this vendor is blocked for processing. We can find out procedure. We can find out which user has blocked this vendor master record by displaying the master record change document. Okay. Okay. Now, let's say after some time we keep on checking on the market. Okay. And after some time we think that this vendor is again good now. So we'll unblock this vendor. Now, to unblock this vendor, you can use the same T code XK05. Enter the vendor, company code, purchasing organization. Enter the vendor, company code, purchasing organization. Hit enter. To unblock the vendor, simply just remove all the blocks. Here, blocking reason, make it empty. Enter. and save. Now let's do the testing once again. Go to the PO creation screen, the ME21N, give the vendor, enter the vendor, enter the purchasing organization, purchasing group, company code, enter. See, now it's not giving you the message away that the vendor is blocked. It's letting us continue because we have unblocked the vendor. We have unblocked the vendor. Now, the next T code or the next scenario is you mark the vendor for deletion. That means you delete the vendor from the system. Now, marking the vendor for deletion and deletion are completely two different things. We cannot delete a vendor from the system. This is a vendor. You want to delete this vendor, hit delete, but you cannot do that. You can mark this vendor for deletion. That means it will let us know this vendor ID will still remain in the system, but it will let us know that this vendor has been marked for deletion. That means we cannot work with this vendor. It's it's like very close to blocking the vendor. So by using the T code XK06, you can mark the vendor for deletion. Enter the vendor, company code, purchasing organization. Again, you can have the deletion areas for all the areas or for selected company code or selected purchasing organization. You can flag the vendor for deletion or mark the vendor for deletion for only on the general data level entry or selected company code including general data level entry. So I'll just mark the vendor for deletion for all the areas and I hit enter. Save. It says in the status bar that the changes have been made. Let's do the testing. ME21N. Enter the vendor over here. Enter the vendor over here. Purchasing organization, company code. Hit enter. See what it says. Enter a vendor. Again, 200401. I enter it again. Let's see. It's getting deleted from the vendor field. Why? Because this vendor has been deleted from the system. That means it's being marked for deletion. Even if it shows in the system, it will show in the system. This vendor ID will show in the system, but it will be treated as deleted. Why the system will not delete this vendor ID is because we can unflag the vendor from deletion. That means we can remove the vendor from deletion whenever we want. Now, how to do it? It's very simple. You want to remove this vendor from deletion now, this vendor. So go back to the standard SAP screen /n. Use the same T code XK06. XK06. Enter the vendor, company code, purchasing organization, hit enter. Just remove all the deletion flags. That's it. Hit enter. Save. Says changes have been made. Now let's do the testing. ME21N. Give the vendor. Enter. Purchasing organization. Enter purchasing group. Company code. See, now it's letting us continue posting the PO. That means this vendor has been removed from deletion. Back to the standard SAP screen. Change the vendor account, change condition, list of vendor views. List of vendors. See, change vendor account and change condition I'll teach you when we do the configuration part. First, let's check the list of the vendors that we have created by the T code MKVZ. MKVZ. I have created vendor, let's say, from I've created this vendor only right now. So I'll give this vendor 2 will be the last vendor that you have created. Okay. You can click execute by entering the purchasing organization. See, this is the vendor that you have created. Or else we can see the list of vendors that you have created like this. Go back. For this, the purchasing organization would be RR22. But this enterprise structure created this vendors. See the list of vendors. Then the next topic will be configuration of the vendor master record.